ride together, we die together. Bad boys for life. Get busy living, or get busy dying.
You ain't first, last. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Welcome to Brews and Reviews with Mick and Pat. I'm Mick.
And I'm Pat.
Each week we sit down with you degenerates to pretend we're certified cicerones and cinephiles.
That is right. So grab a cold one and join us as we review True Brewing's Chapel of Ghouls and the movie Nosferatu.
And if you've been with us before, you know what time it is.
Release the Kraken!
Ooh. That was synced up right there for a
beer on the computer.
For a weekly review that hasn't been done since maybe May of 2024. But that's all right because we
what did we do in May? Dune?
I think maybe it was Dune, or I think the last thing we might have done was wasn't Fallout, was it? Might have been Fallout.
Oh, I think Fallout was the last one.
At least that's what I think Fallout was the last one.
But
But
the Fallout review.
it may not be each week that we sit down, but we're getting back in the groove. We're getting back in the saddle. Part of
we'll see.
Part of my New Year's resolution.
I don't think we can say we're getting back in the saddle until we've been back in the saddle.
It's a slow saddle. I mean, we're getting in it. We might get bucked off. Might get bucked off the saddle, but we're at least making the attempt. But we're here in the Mick and Pat Show's worldwide headquarters, and we have one of our favorite breweries' beers.
Yeah, no, it's great
to get it going again.
I'm always going to be down to do brews and reviews, but I'm always doubly down if we're reviewing something from True Brewing because they just can't fail. They can't fail.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm pretty stoked here. Pat, what's this can, bro? What is everything? What's going on here?
Well, as usual with the True Brewing Company, we got a matte black can. And we've got, some pretty simple writing on here. Just the Chapel of Ghouls hazy IPA. And the image on this one, we've got a castle on a cliff. A gothic-y, craggy, steepley castle with like a blood moon or something behind it. So it's red, lighting it up back there.
Honestly, looks a lot like the castle out of Nosferatu. You know what I mean? How it was across that bridge and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it looks, that's why, might be why we picked it. But the, let's see, what type of hops and things we have in here. We got some, they like the Troubadour Truths, man. They're always throwing that in on the malts.
I think it's because they own it.
That must be
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Got the Troubadour Truth, the Antero, the Proximity Munchin. Munich 10. I'm trying to read this sideways.
Munchin.
Proximity Munchin. No, it's the Proximity Munich 10, or is it 10? IO? I don't know.
I think that's IO.
Mm-hmm. For the hops, I got Citra, Mosaic, Nelson, Riwaka. That's kind of an exciting word. Riwaka.
Yeah, Riwaka, that's weird.
So 6.5 on that alcohol in there, and
it's a hazy Indian pale ale, which I'll be honest, first sips, I wouldn't think of this as a pale ale, but maybe I'm just not getting the skunkiness because I haven't done the swish test yet.
That's true.
Do you recall the swish test, Pat?
I do.
All right.
How could I forget?
For those of us who haven't done the swish test in a minute, I'll walk you through it. But essentially, you're going to take like a nice little tablespoon amount of the beer into your mouth, and you're going to start letting it go across from the tip of your tongue down to the back, and then it's going to slide off the sides underneath the tongue. And you're going to swish it side to side between the molars. And then you're going to put it all in front of your tongue and push your tongue forward to really push that beer forward through your front teeth. And that's just really going to aerate it and get it all bubbly, which allows you to taste all those profiles. And I'm going to do it now. Pat, That was a good swish test. I heard that one in my ears.
Oh, good.
Pat, what'd you taste?
Well, I'm going to have to do another swish test because I tasted me almost swallowing my Zen during that swisherini.
Okay,
which
yeah.
I know Mick hates it when I got the Zen in during the
Zen
official.
out.
So I'm gonna have to take another one because I almost lost it during the swishing part of that swish test, and but I liked what I tasted. I tasted beer.
I mean, I'll say that again. It doesn't taste as hoppy, which I'm all right with because I don't like super hoppy beer. It's a very, very subtle pale ale, Indian pale ale flavor. I'm not sure I really comprehend the difference between hazy and unhazy. Like, what is the difference between an IPA and a hazy IPA?
Is it just the way it's filtered? Like if we had poured this into the glass, would it be a little more?
Oh yeah, it would be not as clear.
Or more, yeah. But I think this from looking at it, this looks kind of. I haven't poured it out. It looks like it might be kind of pinky in there, a little orangey.
Pinkish.
But maybe it's orange I'm seeing down in there. But once again with True, the thing about the True beer is like it's just good. And whatever it is, like whatever their base flavor profile is, it's just smooth. And
I think when it comes to their IPAs, there's always that very consistent level of citrus, and it's just like it's always the same kind of level of citrus across all of them. It doesn't feel overbearing, and so I think that plus like they've never overdone any flavors. Like none of the flavors have ever been just obnoxious or excessive, and so. Like even with their sours, like I've heard some people complain about their sours being too sour or whatever, and I've yet to have a sour by them that was like a really, really pungent tart sour. Everything I've had has been pretty balanced. So I think this is another one that, in my opinion, like I went in expecting, all right, it might be super hoppy, it might be too, like more hoppy than I want it to be, and it wasn't. It's very balanced, and like you said, it has that like consistent what we kind of come to expect from them. Like leveled citrus flavor underneath. So I really enjoy it. I think it tastes good. I would be interested though to like have a couple of their IPAs all at once together,
right,
and compared across. Like because I know Tunnel of Trees has a lot stronger and like way less citrus taste, I think, but it's got much more of a like dry hoppy flavor. So anyways, I think it's pretty good. I'm gonna give it a couple more swishes here, but I mean I think I've already kind of made up my mind.
Yeah, me too. And I think that what they're doing is I think they're just not trying to do too much. You know, like they just, and that's why they're not making these super skunked out beers. And they're getting their craft down. They've got their thing going on. The only difference between a hazy IPA and an IPA is just the cloudy appearance and kind of can have a more fruity or flavor or citrusy flavor.
A hazy one can.
Which makes sense. A little more juicy in there, but I think I'm ready to rate it. You know, I mean,
me too.
Usually we do a brewery breakdown on these places, but this is like the 8th beer we've done from them or something. They're out of Denver. They've got a Music City hot chicken in their tap room, and so you can go get some chicken, get some beer, or if you're in the northern Colorado area and you go to a Music City hot chicken, you can get some beer from True in your Music City.
Yep.
That's been the newest, greatest addition to our
right down the street
right
from
by
us.
our old headquarters here. So
I think I'm just gonna give it a good old flat thumb up.
That's what I was at.
I think if it was colder, it might edge it up to 2.
Oh yeah.
So that is one thing I think that maybe I'm talking like right out of the freezer,
just frozen
before
cold.
or like poured right into a frozen glass, just because sometimes that can really bring out other flavors. Sometimes IPAs, when they get too warm.
Mm-hmm. Smoke break. Smoke break.
Hey, Ken, it's Mick, and I've got something important to talk about. We all hope we never find ourselves in a self-defense situation, but life's unpredictable. Enter the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer, an actual credible law firm you can put on retainer for your self-defense needs. For just $35 a month, you get national coverage in all 50 states for criminal and civil legal representation in self-defense situations, complete with a 24/7, 365 toll-free emergency line. That's real legal support when you need it most. What's in the package? Bail bonds, scene cleanup, firearm replacement, even mental health counseling. Plus, 0 fees for a laundry list of defense-related costs like expert witnesses. So support the show and get yourself some peace of mind. Click the link in our show notes or visit our sponsors page to sign up for the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer.
Hey folks, Pat here. If you're like Mick and I, you're a fan of classic tales like Lonesome Dove, Blood Meridian, The Three-Body Problem, and Steinbeck's East of Eden. With Audible, you can dive into these epic stories anytime, anywhere. Sign up for a free month, and your first audiobook is on the house. To start your free trial and support our show, click the link in the show notes or swing by the sponsors page on our website.
Want an awesome website for your podcast? Check out Podpage. We use it for the Mick and Pat show, and it's a game changer. Set it up in minutes, no coding needed. Support the show by using our link to get started. Your podcast deserves a home as great as ours. Podpage, the one-stop solution. I feel like sometimes it's harder to get like all the flavors and they can kind of come off creamy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
the
for sure.
I think it tastes really good though.
Yeah, because I'll say too, like I'm giving it a 1 thumb, but now that we've had so many of their beers, I'm kind of giving it like a 1 thumb of a true beer. Because we've been floored by some of their others.
Yeah.
So now there's been a creeping scale here on like what we've come to expect. And we're comparing this to all the other beers.
I don't think any true beer I don't think there's a true beer we've reviewed that didn't get at least 1 thumb up.
Right. Like I'd be tempted to give it 2 just to give it 3 thumbs. You know what I mean? on the Mick and Pat
you were really 2
scale. No, I mean what I'm saying is because our scale.
I reserved the 2, so the 2's.
No, I know. I reserve the 2 big time too. But what I'm saying is when you give the Mick and Pat scale, it's out of 4 thumbs.
Yeah.
So it's hard for us to get to 3. 3 thumbs it's more common that we have.
Technically out of 9 possible ratings.
Right. Yeah.
Or 10 possible ratings.
Yeah. No,
2 of them overlap.
But it's hard to get a 3 thumber because that means one of us has to really love it. One of us thinks it's just okay.
There's a lot of kombuchas that got the 3 thumber.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of not a lot. I think there's 2 kombuchas that I gave 2 thumbs up for like kombucha stuff, and you gave them 1. Maybe. I can't remember.
Could have gone either way. It was a dark time. We hadn't had a beer for like months. We were just drinking the hard kombuchas.
Yeah, but our tummies were so bacterially healthy.
My poops were great.
They were good.
I will say the difference the morning after between a kombucha and a IPA.
Yeah,
that's a little night and day right there.
Oh yeah, I never once felt gross after crushing like 6 kombuchas. Yeah. I don't think there was a night on here where I had 6 kombuchas, but like. We would have like 2 to 3 a piece, and I never once like felt like that dry thirstiness. Never like woke up in the middle of the night like, oh, I'm so thirsty and I need to pee. If I have 3 IPAs, I'm gonna wake up and be like, oh my god, I'm so thirsty and I need to pee so bad.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Sure.
All right, cool. Hey, you're here at the Mick and Pat show. That's 1 thumb up from Mick, 1 thumb up from Pat. For True Brewery's Chapel of Ghouls Hazy IPA. It's available in like the big distributor stores in Colorado and along the Front Range here in the West. But you can also get it online. I've seen True Brewery available more and more online as they've upped their distributions. So if you're out of state and you want to try some True, check that internet. You could probably get shipped to you. I would honestly love for us to get a liquor license so we can mail stuff. That'd be cool. We could just mail it out to people who want beer.
wonder how hard an online, like, how hard is it? I wonder if there's like certain loopholes to getting liquor licenses where you could get an easier one for being like a shipper, distributor versus a, the full blown, like, because these things are like $50,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't
like
know
for
that.
like a restaurant usually and stuff like that. As far maybe I'm way off. I might be way off.
It's crazy. Makes you wonder how Drizzly went out of business. If your model's just delivering liquor, how can you go out of business? But I never actually used Drizzly to get liquor or beer. I always used it just to see what was in stock at other places.
Okay, I'm way off here. Cost to get a liquor license in this state can range from $1,500 to $5,000.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Okay, so I was...
I feel like it's $50,000 in places like New York or Chicago where there's insane bureaucracy. Anyways, all I said, let's get into the movie. And so I'll dive in about a review for Nosferatu. Sorry, not the review, but just the synopsis for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. But the one-liner on IMDb, a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. And I personally think that the real core of this is in like the modern day setting, right? Like because I think like there's like what movies and plays were telling audiences at the time, versus like why would we want to be told this now? Why does a director want to tell this story now, right?
Right.
And I think the story now today is like more along the lines of the classic, like be careful what you open yourself up to. Be careful what you let in.
Yeah.
Because it may come under the guise of a companion, a lover, and then, whatever. It may come under the guise of good tidings and ultimately be a nefarious thing. Whether you want to look at it spiritually or, people, friends, companions, whatever it may be. But essentially, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen the movie. Of course, we're going to talk spoilers, right? We always do. If you don't want it to be spoiled, go watch the movie. Spoiler. What pretty much happens, right, is that Lily Rose Depp's character, Ellen Hunter, Lily Rose Depp, daughter of Johnny Depp, not daughter of Amber Heard, Johnny Depp's ex-wife, but one of his earlier partners. So she plays Ellen Hunter, and Ellen Hunter has some kind of, emptiness she feels in her life, and we don't really see much of that, but we do see her essentially in this trance being led outside of her private estate that, her and her family used to live at when she was, I don't know, I imagine it's like depicting her as like
a
teenager-ish. Like, it's hard to tell because she's like as old as our wives, but
there's a part that says like many years later. So I think she's like a late teenager. I'd say like she's 17, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Kind of like
it's okay to depict obscure sexual stuff, right? But anyways, she wanders out at night, and then she finds herself spiritually enraptured, and she falls on her back, and she starts seeming to have, I would say, what is known. Some people have never seen this.
Clinically.
Some people have never seen this in their lives, so if you were confused, I could explain it to you. But I think she was having a female orgasm. This was the best, like, okay, this is going to sound weird. This was the best part of the movie to me, right? Because she was doing her thing, and I was like, okay, weird. And I'm opening up my box of French fries. I had garlic fries because I was at the dine-in movie theater. And my wife, Billie Jean, hadn't gotten there yet.
She hadn't gotten in the room yet.
She hadn't gotten to the movie theater yet.
Oh.
She was showing up from like her workout class.
Oh my gosh.
So I got us food and seats and stuff. And I just hear like the and like there's no nudity. Like you don't see any nudity or anything, but she's like writhing. And then it like quick cuts to this silhouette haunting depiction of this like zombie like vampire lurching over like the like lurching from out of view because the camera's just kind of looking up at the moon.
Yeah.
And he comes out from out of view and like wraps his hand around her throat and she screams, right? And like that jump scare actually went to my pelvis. Like I felt it go through my eyes down to my pelvis, and I like was like I jumped and like caught my garlic fries, dude. I didn't drop any, but it was
so funny.
And I was like, the reason I say it was my favorite was because that was the most off guard I was in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Because whenever you hear that kind of
horror.
Whenever you hear sex sounds and stuff, you just kind of start tuning out. You're like, okay, whatever, like sex stuff. And the way it grabbed me so quickly from my guard being down was pretty great. And that did scare me. Did it scare you at home?
Here's what I will say:
because you were illegally streaming. FBI, get him!
No, I paid $18 to rent this thing on my laptop.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. You used to just pirate everything, which I don't blame you. Sometimes you got to pirate.
I freaking should have, because here's what happened. I had a couple of extra hours. This isn't a movie like my wife's going to want to watch. Definitely not a movie like around the kids.
No.
And so like I had a couple hours after work. I was at the shop here. And I was like,
no way. You watched it here at the shop?
Yeah.
That's scary.
And so I'm like, I rented, I click play. There's music. There's dialogue. There's closed captions. There's nothing on the screen.
Oh.
I thought this was art. I sat there for 10 minutes.
Oh, really?
I sat there until the jump scare. Because then people just started talking in like dialogue, like,
yeah.
And I was like, okay, clearly it's time to like, worst movie ever. It's time to like show the picture. So I thought it was like complete darkness of like her being like this, like where she's saying, you know, like, come to me, my angel,
come to me.
You know, and then he's like, forever you will be mine. And like,
that was really good.
So
that was like really good.
He's hitting these things. So I thought, I was like, okay, like they're just setting the scene, and I was just waiting for the flash of the screen to come on, right? Never happened, and that scary part happened. And so well, I'm just sitting here watching a screen of black, and it's
yeah,
and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And then it's like, and you're like, okay, something's wrong. So then I turned off different browsers, checked all my ad blockers, checked everything, back off and on everything, like nothing. So then I had to watch it on my freaking phone, dude. So I will say, the phone is not the same experience.
Yeah, as a theater for sure.
Compared to the theater especially. But at the very least, I was trying to watch it on the computer, but at first I thought it was a, you know, just a artsy direction. Nope, just wasn't working. So
did the jump scare get you on your phone?
No, because I just heard it.
Damn, that's what I'm saying, bro. That sucks, because that was such a good jump scare.
The image did get to me.
Yeah,
like the image was like, oh, okay.
I can't even tell you what the image was, because it was so
of the monster, you know, but like coming over the top.
But it was so like out of the top of my eyes as I was looking up over my glasses, you know, that like it was just enough that like it was so quick and fast and obscure that like I can't even tell you what it looked like.
I think it was even out of focus.
Oh, really?
A little bit.
Spooked me.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, yeah, she calls out in the spirit or essence of Nosferatu. Nosferatu is apparently like the equivalent of the noun vampire. Excuse me. In that like it is not a singular thing. Or a name. Yeah, like a Nosferatu is literally the demon of plague. And it comes at different times to different cultures, and it's like this recorded demon, and it's essentially like, you know, the like copyright free version of vampire. Because back in the day, fun fact, Nosferatu was written as a spinoff of Dracula to not get sued, because they wanted to essentially make the Dracula movie based off of Bram Stoker's Dracula novel, and the rights were already like purchased and given away to someone else and stuff. And so this guy just was like, okay, well, I'm just going to change the names and the location and what it is. And then we can make our movie. And I mean, I'll say this. If you've seen Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula,
Mm-hmm.
you've seen this movie. They are almost beat for beat the same movie. Like the only difference is like how it starts out with her being the one to invite this presence to like into her life. And have you ever seen Bram Stoker? I mean, Francis Ford Coppola's version of
I don't
Bram
think
Stoker's
I have.
It's with Gary Oldman and Keanu Reeves and oh gosh, who's the really great other British old guy? Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins plays Van Helsing. And the mom from Stranger Things, Winona Ryder, plays Mina. Anyways, it's a really good like movie that had a ton of different like theater stages that were set up for, and it was filmed on. So honestly, oftentimes when you're watching it, looks like a live theater. It is, though, even more sexual than this movie is. And I would say this movie, honestly, someone told me, they're like, when I was going into it, someone was like, hey, this movie's really weird, and there's a lot of weird sexual stuff in it. I was like, okay.
So then you had prepared yourself for a lot.
Yeah. And then I went in and I was like, what? This was less than Bram Stoker's Dracula. Like, Bram Stoker's Dracula had way more sex, nudity, like body possession stuff in it. And so I went into this one and I was like expecting what I got, and what I got was less than what I was prepared for, which is okay. I prefer a lot less sex, honestly, in my horror movies.
Especially like evil, bad, weird sex.
Yeah, like possessed sex.
Yeah. It's like a little bit of rowdy. I came in on the opposite side of things.
Oh, really?
Just being like,
you're like, there's not sex in this.
Yeah, just being like, it's like, vampires. They want to suck your blood, and that's it. It's like, oh no, this is sexual, But
yeah, which I also think a big thing I hear about is like what I was seeing arena is like people thought like they were having a lot of sex. I don't think they had sex. I don't think they had sex once. I think her and Nicholas Holt's character, Thomas, her husband, definitely have sex, or it's alluded they have sex a couple times.
I think the final scene.
I don't think it was sex. I think he was just drinking her blood because he was drinking. He did the same thing to Nicholas Holt, but I don't think they were having sex. And it showed like him just drinking, gorging himself on Nicholas Holt's blood for a while.
It was still the way he did it, though.
Well, it's a very erotic thing.
Yeah,
I think. Because that's also what's always shown for vampires is like their bite is endorphin inducing.
Right.
Like their bite makes you want to cooperate, and it's like the same thing from
I was just trying to think of
other blood drinkers,
or in like the books, the middle school girls. When I was in middle school, what's it called?
Edward Twilight.
Yeah, Twilight. The Twilight stuff. You know, the vampire infatuation.
Yeah, man, it's real. It's real.
They're sexy.
Yeah,
and they like it. Now this guy Nosferatu, the Count, he ain't sexy.
No, Count Orlok, dude. The voice was so good, bro. that was over. But like Count Orlok is. I respect his mustache. And I respect the homies just rocking that bald dome.
It's just all he had was the mustache. I'm surprised how young the actor is who played him.
Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah.
So if you've seen Bill Skarsgård as like Pennywise and stuff, you have a pretty good idea of like how he can transform his expressions and change himself. But he was absolutely phenomenal in this movie. And I thought like as Count Orlok, he really delivered. Like I went in knowing he played Count Orlok, and I still didn't believe it was him when I saw him on screen. I was like, Bill Skarsgård's like a shorter dude, and this guy looks
like 7'7".
Yeah, and even then, like just the makeup and prosthetics, I was like, it really just still doesn't look like him. It's crazy, but no, I really enjoyed that part. Anyways, narratively, back to the story, I guess. If it essentially follows the same beats as like Dracula in that it's like, oh, I have to go off and for some reason all powerful vampires need to have a legally binding contract that they can move to a house. Which was like one of the weirdest things. I always wondered that about like because I listened to audiobook, the Bram Stoker audiobook as well, which is really good on Audible. It's got like a bunch of different voice actors. It's read like a play. and like it's performed very well. But yeah, I always thought it was silly how like Dracula needs this dude to bring him a deed, and Dracula can't just like roll into whatever house,
right?
Because like the lore is like a vampire's got to be invited in, before it can enter in. I'm like, well, what about a house that no one lives in? I feel like it's just a cave at that point. He could just go in,
right? Or like the fact that in this case of this story, it wasn't even a contract for a house. It was a contract, from the way I understood it, it was actually a contract for him, Thomas, to give her to him.
Yeah, he rescinds his rights
to her as
his spouse.
Right, because
he nullifies the marriage.
Yeah, but I don't think he knows something weird's going on when he signs it, but he doesn't know that's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, if you see in the movie,
it's
I don't know if you
some
could
chicken scratch.
Yeah, you notice it. I didn't know if you could see on your phone, but it was definitely written in like super old, like Romanian, Transylvanian.
Like, he said, "It is my forefathers' language."
Yeah,
it's
like, okay,
yeah.
So I'm not gonna sign a binding contract if I can't read it.
But so even still, to your point, it's like why does the vampire need that? I don't know.
Well, and I think like that almost made more sense in this movie. Like I thought that made more sense because like
it was like signing the soul versus like as her husband versus like to sign to go to a house.
Yeah, like he's sickly. Count Orlok is sickly and still bound by like the rules of, vampirism and the mystical or like the magic around it or whatever. So he can't just like steal a woman. Like it's got to be quote unquote true love, right? Which I think also goes in a good way in that like it can't be too rapey. And that was always a thing that got like unsettled me about like the Dracula stuff is that like it's very rapey. Like the Dracula stuff is like Dracula invites, well, he doesn't invite, but this dude comes to sell him, give him the deed and sign everything to stay at his castle. And that's when he sees the locket of Mina. And he's like, oh, Mina looks just like my dead wife. And he's like, I must possess her. And then rather than like Dracula having to like win her over and convince her like, no, I'm the better deal here. Dracula just pretty much possesses chicks in those stories. He's like, come here so I could drink your blood and then be one of my wives. And like they just have no self-control and self-will. And like there was like the thing I really enjoyed about this movie is that Ellen, she gets to really like she flips on the dial of like being seduced by like this very otherworldly force that she has had an intimate connection with in the past, and then like it being revealed like, no, this is a malicious force. This is a force that is evil and harmful. Oh, and it's like actually here, and it's trying to kill my husband, and not only kill him, but like it's gonna kill other people I care about. And so she like really flips on it, and she has the like. She has an internal battle versus like she has the autonomy and the agency. Autonomy, she has the autonomy and agency to be like, no, like you're evil. I'm not gonna sleep with you.
But there's a piece of her that wants it.
I think it used to be there.
Or there's a piece of her that's
it dies though.
I think it's that the fact that it's like is like the almost like the internal struggle of a human, even like around sin. Like, I really don't want to do that. Yeah, but it's calling to me, and I want to. Like this. They at least play on some of that with like her. Like there's just pieces of it that I feel like she's not just evil and she's not just good. She's struggling with it. She wants to have a normal life, wants to just have her husband, but then it's just so rooted in her. There is like a small piece of her that's almost tortured to the point of wanting to relent, I guess, like, and
I think that but I really do think that only existed until she found out that Orlok was trying to kill her husband Thomas. And because after that moment there's never another time where she wants to give in to him, because even when he comes to her, even when Orlok comes to her at night, if she could kiss him, she denies him and says like, I abhor you.
Right.
And the only reason she relents in the end is because she knows if she can keep him feeding on her until the cock crows at sunrise, then he'll die.
Right.
And so it's one of those things where I really liked that part at the end of it. Like that was just the weird thing about like Dracula again, is like there was no real battle for Mina. Like Mina's like, I have these feelings of possession. And then she's like, I hate you, husband. Get away from me. You're gross. I want to, sleep with Dracula. It's like, what are you even fighting for at that point, dude?
Right.
Like,
right.
Like, I guess I just let her go. Like,
and that's what I feel like to her. I feel like the Count Orlok or Nosferatu is like, he's like heroin instead of like something good. Like just something that's like, I feel like there's like a tiny piece where you're just like, I don't want it.
Yeah.
But there's like I don't know. That's for me. I feel like there was scenes
I think it's less drastic than heroin. I think Dracula is like heroin. I think Orlok is more literally just an ex-boyfriend. Yeah. That's why like I literally think it's just like, she's like, wow, like that feeling I had with like whatever the entity was such a powerful feeling, but it doesn't compare to my like husband now. My husband is my true lover. And then it's like, I don't think she ever wants to go back to it. She never will. Like even when she's with Thomas, the reason she doesn't want Thomas to leave is because she's like, I want you more than I want any of that stuff. And I'm afraid if you leave, I'll start having these visions again and these nightmares and these like sleepwalking terrors. And then of course that happens, but she never like consciously when she's awake, I think wants it. And then once she finds out her ex-boyfriend is trying to kill her husband, she's like, okay, let's kill my ex-boyfriend. Right. And that I think the only thing like when we see her and Thomas arguing, I think that's just more her own essential like spiritual schizophrenia. Like she has like essentially schizophrenia of not do I love Count Orlok, but like was Count Orlok telling me the truth? Did you really sell me for a bag of gold and you sign me away? It's not like she wants to be with the Count. It's just like the flippant of like anger and emotion there, which I think that was the scariest part of the movie. Like she does some facial expressions that were unreal, with like how she contorted her face. Yeah. And I was like, that's insane, bro. Like it like, cause in my head, I was like, I literally looked at Billie Jean. I was like, if you did this, I would leave. Yeah. Like I would not like, cause here's the thing, right? She's doing these things and she's flipping back and forth and like saying like almost like possessed insults to Thomas. And she says like something along the lines of like, you could never please me the way he did. Yeah. As in a way to insult him into sex. Like to like prove to me you're a good lover and a better lover than Count Orlok. And then they start having sex. And then they have this, like, he gets this vision of her covered in blood and, like, panic freaks out of it. And I just looked at Billie Jean. I'm like, I just want you to know, this would never happen. The moment you said that to me, I would push you away from me and I would walk out the front door. And I'd be like, your vampire boyfriend can have your ass. Like, I just don't get it. Like, I don't get like, for me, that was the part that was, like, out of... in the vampire movie, the hardest thing for me to believe was like that guy wanted to have sex with his demon wife at that moment. So like, I don't know. What were your thoughts on that? Because like, yes, it was horrifying trying to picture my wife behaving that way. Right. Also, I can't imagine I would respond any way that guy did.
Yeah, I think from the standpoint of a weak man of flesh, the manner in which she propositioned him was very hard to deny. But also, I'm with you on the not a good time to be. It's it's time to sit down and have a talk or something, right?
Yeah. I'm not even having a talk. I'm leaving, bro. If you're having demon moments.
Yeah. Now, in his defense, he's completely effed by this point too. He's a mental wreck as well.
He's also in demon mode.
He's been he's been after. So they're just trying to figure it out. Yeah. But yeah, I will say that's what I guess. And to like this wasn't like. overly sexual comparatively to like the Dracula movie or other movies, but like it was still just like in general, I just don't like evil weird sex, you know? Like I just kind of puts me it puts me at unease. Makes me feel a little
I'd hope so.
a little bit right, which I think is what it is. It is a horror movie. They are trying to make you feel uneasy, right?
Mhm.
But there's this also. Then there's just this piece around like how do you describe this? Okay, the best way I can describe this would be like when you were 13 or whatever, and an episode of Law and Order Special Victims Unit came on.
Oh yeah.
And they're talking about some graphic stuff.
We're talking about the father raped his daughter, and you're
It's
like,
bad,
oh my gosh, I didn't know that happened in the world.
right? But it's bad.
Yeah.
But you're kind of curious, like there's like in a way being like,
And not like a sexual curiosity,
right? Or even I would actually say yes, but it's because it's blending the two, and it's your brain's like,
Sure.
I like boobs, I think I like sexual things, but this is very bad. This is bad.
Yeah.
And so that's it. When you're driving those two things together, it puts a very like, it's just unnerving. It's very unnerving to be like,
unnerving, yeah.
like even some of the scenes in this where you're like, that lady on the horse has a nice rack. Also, they're about to sacrifice her to a vampire.
Well, no, they didn't sacrifice.
Right, but
her.
like,
Yeah.
whatever they're about to
Yeah.
do. Still, naked lady on a horse, objectively attractive,
Mhm.
but there's scary funeral-y things going on, and they're stabbing a corpse that vomits, and you're like, there's confliction here. I'm being unhinged, unnerved. I don't like it.
No, I get what you're saying.
That's that sort of thing.
It makes sense for sure. It's I get,
Which is kind of what they're trying to do.
that's the point of the movie, I think, right? Is to like pull on one pathway in your brain and like make you disturbed
Yeah.
by like the association with it. Which also I thought that corpse when they stabbed it, because this was just a demonstration to show like how these Transylvanian Romanian gypsies are aware of like the vampire lore and how they find them and track them down. They stabbed that vampire in the grave. I thought it was just going to be a corpse, and the corpse was just going to be dead, and then they did it, and it was straight up a vampire.
Yeah, they killed it.
And I was like, wait, how many Nosferatus are there supposed to be in the Nosferatu movie? I kind of would have liked to see a little bit more there.
Right.
A couple more like lesser vampires, because we don't really get like, we know Nosferatu's biting people, and as he bites them, it can kind of spread some like plague-like disease, and rather than bats being kind of his what's the word? I can't, like his surrogate. Hit like Dracula's surrogates are bats. Rats are his surrogate in this film, or Count Orlok's surrogates.
Even though he's kind of batty,
but
like
he doesn't ever do a bat thing.
During the,
I hear bad noises a couple times.
I'd say during the signing of the deed, he like it flips and flaps, and he just ends up on the other side of him. So it's like
really?
they kind of give you a little bit of.
It's all like sound.
Yeah, it's all
design.
sound. You never see him be a bat.
Yeah.
So he could be a rat. But yeah, it's like there's lots of, instead of Dracula's got bats flying everywhere, this dude's got rats.
I just would like to see more of those other vampires, just to get an idea. Because that was another cool thing about Dracula. And maybe it's a copyright thing, right? And why they didn't do it. But Dracula has his wives of Dracula, which are all three like, women he's turned over the years. And then he turns another lady into a vampire. And it's all done with like the bite, and he bites so many people in this movie that I was like, when are the other vampires going to show up?
That's what I was thinking that too, as far as like
Nosferatus.
or like when he bit Tom the first time, I was like, oh, he's bad. He's a vampire now. But I guess we're dealing with a little bit different adjacent lore,
Yeah.
They're playing by their own rules. And I think that's where, for me, some of this movie kind of broke down. It was like for the epic proportion, epic scale of some of this movie, that like of lore and things around it, I feel like I needed a little more story or explanation, and maybe you were just supposed to engage it for what it was, right? Which I think that is what the intent was, that you just engage this story for what it is. But for instance, like that first scene with the other vampire where Tom sees it being hunted by the gypsies, like it's just really all that serves as is a thing to makes Tom know he's in a crazy place that's kind of weird now.
It like grounds like, oh, superstition stuff is kind of real.
Right. And that vampires are real.
Yeah.
But we showed up to Nosferatu, so we know that's real. Like as far as like establishing the I don't know, so like it felt like they needed more. I don't know. Like even if there was a old lady in the village who just said a couple clarifying things about like, I don't know, setting up the rules or tying the story together or, warning him about the guy on the hill. I don't know. So I feel like throughout the whole movie, because it does, I don't know if it was just the intent to be kind of like these fever dreamy chops in and out of what's real, what's not. And they did that to show like people coming in and out of sleep and not sure what's going on, not sure what's real. But then they also had like the pieces of, you bring in like William Dafoe's character, who's like this expert, but then we really don't know. I feel like we didn't really know what the rules were, or like or also like the depth of his character is supposed to be pretty epic and crazy vampire fighter type, but he's just, I don't know. I'm having trouble explaining it, but just
I get what you're saying. I think though that's all that the truth is
presumed.
It's all presumed because of what came after this.
Right.
Like the truth is like Nosferatu was a much bigger movie and like bigger deal. And like all of our vampire lore is based off of that. And the reason I think that Bram Stoker's Dracula, the film made by Francis Ford Coppola, was such a success was because the people who were children and saw Nosferatu were adults in their 40s and could take their teenagers with them to go see Bram Stoker's Dracula. And so with that, it is one of those things of like, I do think this movie's cursed by adhering closely to its original source material and trying to add in a little bit more of like what the original source material was that wasn't included in the movie. Because the original source material of this is Bram Stoker's Dracula. And because we've seen those movies, or we're so familiar with them and how they're brought in and how there's the rules of vampires and things like that, that like there's a little bit of presupposition. And we're expecting, when we're going into this, we're not expecting Willem Dafoe to be literally kind of like more studious professor, not a badass. We're expecting to be, Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing, like that's just like what people think of when they think of Van Helsing. And I think really what it was supposed to be is like to show like, hey, people believed in this. Like this is a thing people really truly believed, especially in like where Nosferatu originally takes place is like Germany, and Germany was really close to Romania. A lot of Romanian immigrants and stuff in Transylvania in like the 1800s. And so a lot of people were like hearing these things of like, what are vampires? And then like, we know for without a doubt, like in Germany and other parts of like Europe, people were waking up and people were like, all right, let's go kill that vampire. And they were like opening caskets and stabbing things. And so it's one of those things where like, I think like this is actually more simplified. And also like, if you just look at it from the perspective of like plague and people wearing lead makeup and eating like, poisonous food off of plates and wearing corsets and taking like snake oil medicines.
Yeah.
This whole movie could have absolutely happened in someone's fever dream.
Yeah.
And just everyone who died as a result of the plague, and the freaking walking in on your dead wife and this corpse of a person on top of her could happen. Like you could literally come home during these days and age and someone riddled with plague is dead on top of your spouse. Like I don't think that was unreal.
Right.
So like it's just, I think it's all of it is like supposed to come off as like, yes, this is like the origin, like how And it's not necessarily supposed to scare you today, but it is supposed to make you understand why this was so freaking scary then.
And I did like that part of this where they did incorporate a lot of like the superstitious, like mythical medicine. You know,
yeah.
oh, she needs to be bled, or that scene where she's like,
I'll give her more ether.
Yeah. He
I
just
was
covered
like,
her
I was like,
face,
dude, I
yeah.
told Billie Jean, I'm like, I'm just gonna do that to you.
Yeah, just give you more ether.
I'll give her more ether.
Yeah, just covers her face.
Smother her.
Yeah,
Because Billie Jean looked at me, he's like, you just chloroform her? I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's been doing that for the past couple hours.
he's just keeping her leveled out. Yeah, and or put a corset on her tighter because it helps like blood flow to like her like uterus, whatever, like all these
squeeze the blood out.
Yeah, it's like whatever, all this stuff. But and so they did this. This movie didn't feel wildly supernatural.
Yeah.
Compared to other things we've seen.
Yeah.
So while there was possession, vampires, supernatural powers, it did allow for kind of blending that old world mythical medical science with also like the supernatural lore of vampires and those things. And so it was believable in that sense, where it wasn't just a guy turning into a bat and flying away and like all this overly theatrical stuff. I mean, yeah, and it did feel the way that they brought the audience into the mindset of a person at this time of what was going on. Because then you have the character, the friend, what's his name, Cedric or Friedrich?
Aaron Taylor Johnson,
Yeah,
guy who played Kick-Ass. He's just, I think he's, let me just make sure I'm double checking this. The cast. Is he someone's brother or sister? I think I thought he was Ellen's brother for a very long time. He might just be their friend. But I thought he was Ellen's brother, and Ellen goes by Ellen Hutter because Thomas Hutter is her husband, right? But there was nothing I heard that overly confirmed that. But she says to him at one point, "Why do you hate me? You've always hated me." And I thought that was like kind of like a...
Did they grow up together? Were stepbrothers?
Yeah, we were siblings.
Yeah, what's going on?
Because there was also like no moment of sexual tension between them. So that's why I thought it was like a sibling thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because like he clearly never sees her in that light.
No, yeah. And I was wondering, like, at least I felt like the audience was him.
Oh yeah,
like he is the vessel that is the audience.
And he was great.
Yeah,
he was phenomenal. Everyone was good in this movie. I don't think there was anyone who was bad.
It was good, good acting, and but for him, his character was like, just like, no, it's not a vampire. Like this is like a plague. Like what the hell's going on? Like you're mentally ill.
I'm going to tie you to the bed.
This professor is...
My children are in this house.
Is a nut. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, this is all BS. Like kind of like level-headed, just kind of normal, just a normal dude found himself in this very weird, scary, supernatural story. So I think the audience, he is us in the story as we get pulled through it.
I didn't even think of that, but I totally agree. And ultimately, he dies holding on to the memory of what he's lost, right? He literally goes to the grave, the mausoleum of his wife and daughters. And rather than, face what is coming, he'd rather just kind of like hold on to what once was and like die with it in his arms.
Yeah.
And which was weird because I didn't see him seeming to contract the disease at all.
Right.
Up until the final scene when he's like going to die there. And then the disease is like on his face.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I was hoping that those three girls were going to, like his two daughters and wife were going to come back as vampires. I was so ready for that.
Oh, yeah.
Like vampire showdown in the cemetery. That would have been sick.
I got angry when Nosferatu killed those kids.
You got angry?
I was not happy about that.
Like, are you like, this movie's awful, or were you like, kill this vampire?
Yeah, and more like that. Just like I was just like,
At first I was like, I was like, this is really dark dream.
Yeah,
and I was like, then it was like cut to caskets, and I was like, oh my gosh, they killed those kids.
Tiny fat casket.
That's honestly the way to do it though, and like the very like just enough of a silhouette and shadow to know what is happening without a doubt.
Yeah.
But not like too gory or graphic
When it comes to kids and stuff. And
yeah. Like I felt like it was tasteful. I don't know if there's a way you could do it that would be like, it was impactful. Like you see their silhouette of like him holding one dead girl and then drinking the blood out of the other one. And he drops their bodies. And you're like, oh damn, like, did he just kill those kids? And it's enough to know like this could be happening without it just being like an illusion or a fever dream. Yeah, but it did make me think like, oh wow, we got to kill him. And I really thought we were gonna get Friedrich Harding, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character. I really thought he was gonna be like, all right, let's go freaking kill this vampire before I die.
But he just wanted to hold on to the reality he had before all this.
I'd be devastated too. That said too, the only other character that we haven't really mentioned, or two characters that we haven't mentioned that I thought really, really were standouts. I mean, I think Ralph Ineson, I've always liked him. He's in The Witch or The Vitch, depending on how you pronounce it, but it was like Robert Eggers' first movie. He's great in it, and he's in a couple other ones, but he's like the classic British guy with like an insanely deep voice. But he played Dr. Wilhelm Sievers in this, and I thought he was really good. Dude, but Simon McBurney played Knock.
Is that the boss?
Yeah,
the servant of the Count.
He was the servant of Count Orlok, but was also the employer of Thomas. And never seen that guy before, or at least I'm not aware of anything I saw him in. But he was excellent. Like, I never thought his mad craziness was over the top. I always thought it was like perfectly balanced and this is what a crazy guy sounds like. And it was very unsettling. He was probably the most unsettling part of the whole movie.
Especially since at the beginning, I thought he was good.
Really? At the beginning, I was like, this guy's huffing lead paint. Like, because he was giggling in the room, and I was like, "What the hell's going on?"
I guess that's true. That's true. I just thought he was like, I thought he was on Thomas's team. I should say, not that he was like evil like that, just like. And then all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh my god!"
Oh, he's in a room on top of like a 7-sided star.
Yeah, like butt naked, like
carving into himself.
I was like, "Okay, we've gone. This is bad."
That's the thing, though, is like, was he originally Orlok's servant, or did Orlok's spirit just reach out and possess some poor bastard?
Right.
Because that was the thing that I also think was scary. Is like, how terrifying is the thought that you could just be like the head of a real estate firm and one day start getting dreams from a vampire? This is like, be my servant and I will reward you. Like, that's pretty crazy.
and going back all the way to the beginning of the movie, then too, where she knew he was getting called away before he did.
Yep.
So that would also lend you to believe that like she's kind of always been hanging out with him in her dreams, and like he talks to her.
I don't. He couldn't though for a while. That was the thing. It was like while Thomas was around, he wasn't able to get through to her. And I think that was the biggest thing. Is like she was afraid once Thomas left. I think she knew Thomas was leaving. I don't think she knew it was to go to the source of the evil. But she knew once Thomas left, she'd have these issues again.
Oh, yeah.
Infirmities. Okay. I got some trivia. But before we do that, let's give our final thoughts. I'll say this. I'm not defensive over this because I immediately, I think like a quarter of the way through, I was like, oh, that's just like Dracula. Oh, that's just like Dracula. And then I was like, oh, this is just Dracula. And I was like, I knew it was a copy of Dracula. I didn't know it was a freaking like Kroger I didn't know it was like hey man, here's my essay. Use it as a reference. Don't copy it. I didn't know it was like literally like just changing the first name on the essay to be your own, right? And it was really good, but it did make me think like, man, I should watch Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula again, because that might have been better.
Right. Kind of see
but it was definitely cheesier. It was, 80s cheesy. And this I didn't think was cheesy at all.
Right, because this one did have I will say what I was impressed with was the visuals, the scenes,
dude, that hand reaching across the city.
Oh yeah,
blew my mind away.
Yeah,
like that. The whole time I was watching that, I was like, "Is this a miniature set?
Right.
This does not look fake at all."
Yeah,
it was. I could not tell where it began or ended.
Same with the old castles they were in. I'm like, is this a real place? Was this film?
It was a real place.
Right. It was like I was like, oh, this isn't like a set. This is like a
real castle in Romania.
Yeah, this is crazy. And then just in general, like the use of the scenes and the cuts and the camera angles and everything, it was really well done in that sense, and
it was pleasant to look at the whole time.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. Which is also like that's not what you expect out of horror movies, right? You usually expect like just
budget sets.
Yeah, just budget stuff. And
Haunt.
So
hey man, let's just film in this haunted warehouse.
Exactly. It's like, hey, could you leave this warehouse set up for like an extra week after Halloween? We can come film in here. Yeah, no, but that part of this was really well done. The cast was had some big stars, and then also had some not a ton. Willem Dafoe being definitely the biggest out of them, but then had other actors who held their own in it, and it didn't feel like I was watching acting.
Mm-hmm. I can't think of anyone who I thought was bad. Like there's no one who I was like, you're being carried. Mm-hmm. Like even Anna Harding, who was like the best friend of Emma. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was overacted. I don't think it was underacted. I thought she just did a great job. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. And I thought like the kids were fine. Like they're in scene for like 30 seconds, but it's one of those things where there's no one you're just like, oh gosh, like they really phoned it. Whereas like, bro, if you do watch the Dracula film with Keanu Reeves, mm-hmm. it's like it's watching Ted from Bill and Ted.
It's watching Bill and Ted go to see Dracula.
You know it is, bro. It's like Ted, like, oh, Dracula, my dude. Like, it's just like, I hear you want to move to England. It's like so hard to like mm-hmm. watch that movie because it's well before Keanu went to the like school of acting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or we're like, let's stop giving this guy lines. Yeah, just good facial features.
It's so funny. It's so funny though. Like mm-hmm. you watch it and you're like, this is incredible. This is incredible. This is Francis Ford Coppola, the dude who made The Godfather, mm-hmm. and he cast Keanu Reeves as like the lead. Mm-hmm. And then there's like Anthony Hopkins who steals every single scene he's in, mm-hmm. or Gary Oldman as Dracula. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's a great movie, but you got to like go in and be like,
no,
expect it to like bear through it. Mm-hmm. Okay, all that said. Anything else before you want to review it?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. It does have really good reviews. Mm-hmm. Like if you're talking horror, you'd be hard pressed to find a horror movie that has as good of reviews from both critics and audience. Mm-hmm. It's usually one or the other. I'm going to give it a thumb up mm-hmm. just because, well, not just because, I genuinely think it's a good cinematic experience. Mm-hmm. And I think that the criticism of it mm-hmm. is mostly blown out of proportion. Like if I was to stack this up against any other kind of horror movie I've seen in the last couple of years, mm-hmm. I think it is like, better acting. I think the story may be simple and mm-hmm. old, mm-hmm. but it's still told in a way that I enjoyed watching. Like I've heard it 100 times, mm-hmm. but the 101st time I just saw it was still pretty good. Mm-hmm. And visually, I thought it was beautiful to watch. Like I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. And like you said, the effects and mm-hmm. how they did things. So it gets a solid thumb up for me. I can't give it 2 thumbs because I just don't think it's that good. Because mm-hmm. it's Dracula. Like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So all right, a thumb up from Mick. What about you, Pat?
I'm giving it a thumb up as well.
Really?
I am.
I was anticipating you giving it a thumb down.
Well, because here's the deal. Like most of my,
you're also not a horror guy, so this is a big thing from me.
Well, for Pat. And that's what I'm saying is like the things I don't like about it are just because I don't like this. Like, you know what I mean? Like I want the knight on the horse and he slays the monster.
Yeah.
And he rides off with the lady. Like that's what I want. So it'd be like, mm-hmm. Like so the I'm taking myself out of this, just objectively to this movie and what it is. Like, it wasn't cheesy. It was well done. I think that there's a reason why a lot of people like it. People like this genre and stuff. And it's not, while it is a retelling, a remake, and a ripoff, it still stands alone and doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like all those things. It doesn't feel like a remake, ripoff, and a retelling of something, right? So it's the acting is great, the directing, and like I was saying, the visuals in these scenes, they're there. Especially the scenes that were around, like that first act where Thomas goes to the castle, like that whole thing was good. It's gripping. It's mysterious.
I was really unsettled.
You think you know what's going on only because you know the story, but otherwise, because of the directing, you're like, I don't know what's going on, and I just know something wild is. I just know what Thomas knows, which is, I don't think I'm supposed to be here right now. And so
right.
I think it's a good movie. If you don't like blood. You don't like sexual explicit things, whatever. Like,
this isn't it, fam.
Yeah, definitely not for you.
But if you don't like blood, don't watch movies with vampires.
Exactly. So, but I've seen plenty of other vampire type movies too that aren't that I wouldn't give a thumb up to. I like them more because it is like
schlocky.
Yeah, or it's like it is like vampire slayery, like big fight scenes, like these things, versus like this does more justice to the old stories of a vampire and how they, like we were talking about, like, the legends that were coming out in these times of, a whole town died from a plague. It was a vampire. What's going on here? There's confusion. So yeah, I think I'm going thumbs up for it.
Heck yeah. Well, dude, hey, 2 thumbs up for a horror movie at the Make It Pass show. It's pretty great for a horror movie. I mean, I'm a big horror fan, but it takes a lot to get 2 thumbs up for me for movies, and to even get any favor from Pat for a horror movie, that's a big compliment there. So, a couple of things that I thought about too, just while you're saying that I thought was like good to make note of too. Is that another one is that it doesn't play into the tropes of what I think a lot of people were expecting. Like there was almost like the teasing of like crosses and crucifixes, but there's I think I remember a teasing of a mirror, right? But like you never really get any of those rules, right?
Or like one guy has garlic on and a wooden stake and a crucifix, and a silver bullet just in case.
Like we don't even know if a spike of iron would have killed Nosferatu, really. Like we know, like it looks like they killed that one vampire with, was it a sword or a axe?
That something pointy, I
that
don't know.
They killed it with. I couldn't tell what it was. Yeah. The other thing, Billie Jean said, and this is the classic Billie Jean response, but I genuinely think she meant it for this movie. She said, "Wasn't scary."
That's actually what I was about to say for this movie as a horror. Like as someone who doesn't like horror, I will say, I liked it because it also wasn't that scary, or over the top evil. It fit into a box. This is evil. Yeah, this is good and bad, but we're not going like just off the rails into like complete like these spots where the horror movies I don't like to be in that are just like.
But Pat,
yeah,
is Count Orlok scary?
Yes. But he's not. It's not as scary as other horror movies that are just like.
Wait until you see. Sorry, go ahead.
It's just like those movies that are just evil for the sake of being evil. And this is at least like there is a good force like the professor. There is evil in the world, and there is also like for our lead, Ellen. Like there is an internal conflict. It's not just a. Only possessed writhing on a bed. There's no hope. There's weird stuff like just like complete debauchery. Just people dying for no reason. Like I don't know. Like, so I will say that's also a part of why I like this in the horror genre as well. I think that lots of people could watch this and be like, I didn't like that. That was creepy, but it didn't leave me like, curled up in a ball, or whatever.
Bro, wait until you see Gary Oldman's Dracula with two giant like boobs on his head.
Oh yeah,
from his hairdo. His hairdo looks like two breasts are on his head.
Oh yeah.
Okay, here's my thing. This is the main thing I want to bring up post review is I think Count Orlok is silly to girls. I think girls will see Count Orlok with his big mustache and his bald head
and his creepy long fingers
and I think they'll be like, kind of seems like he's a little gay. Kind of seems like Freddie Mercury type. To me, he's scary. I think he's scary looking, dude. And maybe that's scary to me because he looks like the dude maybe who would try to get me. You know what I mean? Like Count Orlok comes out, like he gives me the behavior of a dude who like he might try to get with me while I'm sleeping in his castle. And that's scarier to me than Dracula, who's uninterested in me at all.
And he has Rasputin-y vibes too.
He does, dude. Yeah. I joked with Billie Jean since I got the mustache all grown out. I think I might go as Count Orlok for Halloween.
Oh, really?
Just, bald cap and just, I'm tall. I feel like I could do it. Put some contacts in.
Mm-hmm.
I have to work on that voice though. Okay. Got some trivia here for everyone. There wasn't really any goofs in the movie, so that's nice to always see that it was like nice. They had really good editors, but trivia 1, the word Nosferatu isn't a word with really any meaning in Romanian. It's believed that Bram Stoker first learned of this word from an article back in the 1880s. And the only other previous usage of it was a German article on vampires in 1865. But both sources claim the word is Romanian, and the term has no meaning in Romanian. There's no like definition for it. So it's either always just been that thing that it was about, right? Or it's not a real word. It was just made up, right? Willem Dafoe, when he did the scene burning the mausoleum down. Not the mausoleum, burning the manor down. Was filmed with 2,000 live rats.
How do you get them all back in that cage? They didn't get them all back.
Lot of cheese.
Yeah.
Bill Skarsgård trained with an opera coach to lower his voice an octave to make the voice of Count Orlok as deep as possible. It was very good. He said he had to train for like 6 weeks, and that's all he did for 6 weeks was just like rehearse the voice.
Wow.
And just day in and day out and record himself, and they'd tell him how to do it lower. Flowers often carry symbolism, and in this movie, purple lilacs are, in the beginning and the end, heavily symbolical. Oh, symbolic? What? Wait, symbolic? Heavily symbolic.
Yeah.
Symbolical. So purple lilacs, there's specific variants. The lighter shade of purple are traditionally associated with one's first love, or the first time one feels love for someone, an important theme in this movie.
When Count Orlok takes the locket, he says
lilac.
Yeah.
Yeah. The film's budget was only $50 million, which I was shocked by. Like how good this movie looks.
Yeah.
This movie looks as good to me visually.
There's a lot of way more expensive movies that don't look this good.
I will say this movie looks just as good visually to me as Dune. Like I believe Arrakis is real. Like I see Arrakis, I'm like, that's real. I also see this 1880s village, or not village, but 1880s England, and I'm like, that's also real. How did they record this? This is so very visceral and real looking. So I do think the money was paid very well here, spent very well, I guess, because it's visually stunning, and there are like, Pat said, The Flash cost what, $250 million and looked like dog duty. Francis Ford Coppola's last movie was the big one. It was called it was like the movie he has wanted to make for years. I can't remember the name of it. It was his most recent movie that just came out with Adam Driver. It cost $100 million or more, and it was trash. And the CGI and visuals in it are like so bad at times. They're like awful green screen. And then last bit of trivia here: Nosferatu is, of course, this unauthorized adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and Florence Stoker, Bram's widow, sued, won, and it had most prints of the film destroyed. So the fact that any prints of this film survived and it led to like this cult classic is kind of a miracle, because she tried to destroy it and root it out wherever it existed.
In 1922, like when it came out. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyways, those are the cool, fun trivia things here. I guess, Pat, is there any other kind of points you want to talk about before we sign off?
I'll say the credit to his name's Jaron Blaschke. He's the director of photography for this, and it looks like he's been teamed up with the director Robert Eggers for a while, because the DP, director of photography, he did The Northman, The Lighthouse, The Witch, and Nosferatu, all with the same director. So he has a huge the way your movie looks. The director matters a lot, but the director of photography matters big time on making that look that way. So excited to see what else he might like continue to come out with or not, because if he wants to stop doing these scary movies and do something I like, I'll be super excited for it.
Do you like Hamlet?
Hamlet?
Yeah.
A new, like the story in general?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they making
The
that?
Northman is the original story from Icelandic lore.
All right.
That Hamlet's based off of.
All right, I'll have to watch it.
A lot of people went into the Northman and they thought it was just going to be big war movie, big Viking fighting tons of other Vikings or knights movie. And it's very small in scale because the original story is very small. You know, it's very contained in a Icelandic Viking culture.
Yeah.
And so, but it's really good. I really enjoyed it. And it's also one of those movies that has like a very fine line that gets crossed between supernatural and reality.
Kind of that standard Viking stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah. And Willem Dafoe farts in it, and it's hilarious.
He farts in it.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed it. It was a movie that Billie Jean did not enjoy much, but I liked all of Robert Eggers' movies so far. The Witch, easily the most horrifying one. The Witch is insanely unsettling and scary. Easily the most scared I've ever been watching a movie about witches, because I usually think witches are dumb.
Right.
But the Witch scared me. And then The Lighthouse was the movie that I saw that made me think, what's our boy? Robert Patrickson? Patrick Robertson. No. Dude who played our other favorite vampire. Edward.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
The Lighthouse was the movie I saw with Robert Pattinson that made me think, Robert Pattinson is actually a really good actor. And I kind of like him a lot. And that was before the newest Batman movie too. So.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, great movies, great setup. Great pedigree he's got so far, Robert Eggers. I'm excited to see what he comes out with next too, for sure. I think he just does a lot of horror, because horror, it's very easy to tell old stories that have been around for a long time, because a lot of them are horror ones. But I genuinely think he just has a fascination and appreciation for like very old tales of humanity.
Yeah.
So with that, hope, Ken, that you enjoyed everything. Please grab a Chapel of Ghouls. I thought it was just singular. Chapel of Ghouls from True Brewery. Again, I mean, we're not really sponsored by them, but heck, we love their beer and it's pretty good. And check out Nosferatu. If horror is your thing, give it a watch. If you don't like horror, maybe like wait until you have someone else to watch it with, right? But all that said, thanks for joining us. Pat, anything?
Till next time. Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.